Okay.
Does that angle look all right?
You look fine. You are live right now. I'm just going to head to Instagram and make sure that we get to go live on there. And we are on Instagram as well.
Ooh.
Ooh, right. Let me just check on our other platforms that we are also, I just had a notification, we are live on Christie's Facebook page, and I'm just going to check hints and tips. Are we live in there as well? Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Now, the only thing we don't get to see is how many people are with us.
You can see at the top 13.
Oh, I can see at the top 30. Oh, yes. Thank you for that.
Keep up,
Yeah,
joyful.
I know. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first evening live with GoMortgage. That way, Chris. There's Chris. Chris Days, director of GoMortgage. And we're going to be here answering, Chris is going to be here answering some lovely questions from you all. So if anyone does have any mortgage related questions, protection questions, wills, anything like that, feel free to pop a comment down below, and soon we should see them. We're on a multi-stream platform, so we don't know where they're coming from, we don't think. So if it's a comment from Facebook or Instagram, I don't think it's going to show us. But feel free to drop us a comment down below, and hopefully we will start seeing them. I am just going to check one of our streams and just make sure that let's turn that down. Oh yes, there we are live. So I'm seeing, there we go, they're coming through. Right, I can see, I'm just making sure. What can you please confirm as a gifted deposit? That is that one. Okay, I found one. So like I said, we don't quite know which platform they're coming from other than Facebook or Instagram. So yeah, we don't have names neither, so it might just be worth listening out and listening for your question as to whether Chris does answer it. So we've had one come in, so I'm going to start with this one. And it says, hi, can you please give some advice about gifted deposits? How, from who, and at what stage?
So, the majority of lenders will want it to be from a family member, but that can be extended family, so like uncles, aunties, but usually like blood relatives. There are some lenders that will take it from other people like friends, landlord. So there is lots of options when you are talking about a gifted deposit. From who? So obviously just covered that. What stage? So usually if it is a gifted deposit, we'll need bank statements and a gifted deposit letter from whoever's gifting the money. So you don't have to have it in your bank. You can have it in the gifter's account. And then obviously before completion, the gifter can either send it to the solicitor or they can transfer it to you and you've got it in your account there.
Perfect. What is the best way to pull out equity from my right to buy property worth £250,000 and only £80,000 on the mortgage?
So obviously, if you're not tied into a fixed rate, you can remortgage. Obviously, if you're tied into a fixed rate, depending on the lender, you can do what's called a further advance and take out some extra money. If you're tied in and you say 2 years into a 5-year fixed rate and you can't do a further advance, you might be able to do a secured loan. So there's a few different options for pulling out equity.
Perfect. Is shared ownership a good thing? Paying £1,100 a month in rent and struggling to save for a deposit. I'm located in Kent, so it's very expensive to buy.
Obviously, you're always best buying the whole of the property. But yeah, like you say, when you're down south and things are really, really expensive, then shared ownership's a great way of getting on the property ladder. So rather than obviously spending fortunes in rent, even if you own 25% or 50%, you own something, so it's going up in value, getting a capital appreciation, you're paying off your mortgage, and then in time, obviously, you can buy more of the property. So yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, you'd buy all of the property, but shared ownership, it's a great way to get on the ladder for a lot of people where house prices are really expensive.
Can I buy a house with a 5% deposit, average credit score with a 20k annual salary?
So deposit-wise, it's going to depend on your credit score. So obviously, if you've got no credit issues and you've got a strong credit score, then yeah, potentially you can put 5% deposit down. Your income is going to obviously dictate how much you can borrow. So most lenders will lend 4 to 5 times your salary. So yeah, I mean, the 5% is all going to be dictated by your credit score.
Thank you very much. I think we're a little slow coming through on the comments because that was one of the end ones on there, but I feel like I'm seeing some more on our other platform. So let me just go over and I'm going to have a look at GoMortgage. I keep seeing the word dip. What does dip mean?
A DIP is a decision in principle. So basically, when we run bits of information past the lender, they'll do a soft credit check and they'll come back and say you can borrow X amount of money. And a decision principle isn't a guarantee of a mortgage. It's just the lender saying, yep, we're happy at this stage and we're good to go to full application. And then obviously it'll depend on underwriter, a hard credit search and the valuation. So a DIP could also be called an AIP or an NIP, mortgage in principle or an agreement in principle. They all mean the same thing.
Perfect. Does your broker have to be local to you or can you use anyone?
Good question. Local to us, we have lots of clients, but the majority of our clients are all over the UK. So obviously we liaise with people over Zoom calls, telephone, email. So yeah, you don't have to be local. It's more important to deal with a broker that you get on with, that you can sort of relate to. You don't want to be speaking to someone that you haven't got that relationship with.
Perfect. I'm just flicking between all our channels, just making sure that we're not missing any. What would be, whilst I'm looking through, what would be, as a broker, your top 3 tips for a first-time buyer?
First one, probably get on your credit report. Make sure there's nothing on there that you don't know about. So even if, obviously, for everybody, always check your credit file. Second of all, don't leave it until the last minute to get an agreement in principle in place. Speak to a broker or a bank early so that you know exactly what you can borrow, and then you're prepared. Third tip, putting me on the spot here, aren't you? Know your area. Obviously, for like first time buyers, what me and Nat used to do is drive around, get to know sort of areas, and just see where you'd like to live. Don't just stay on the right move. Go and have a drive around and look at houses.
Good little tips there. Thank you. Where can I get my credit score?
So there's lots and lots of different places you can do it. We use Check My File for the simple reason it has all 3 major credit agencies on the one report. We can send you a link so you can get a month free, and it's just really, really comprehensive and it's easy to use. You've got your likes of ClearScore and Credit Karma and like ones through the bank, but they only look at one agency. So you're only looking at like a snapshot of your credit file. Whereas Check My File looks at all 3 agencies and gives you a really, really good comprehensive look at your credit file.
Do I have to use the estate agent's broker? They've told me I do, but I just want to check.
No. Major conflict of interest. Their client is the seller. So they're working in the best interest of the seller. So for me, you're always best off doing it independently. Same with the estate agent solicitors. Always do it independently.
Perfect. What we need to know, really, isn't it? Let me go through. So there are some that aren't feeding through to us, so I am just going to check. Might be a really stupid question, but on the affordability check, is it based on gross income or net income?
So when you're employed, they're looking at your gross income. So whatever your gross figure is, obviously that's what you times by 4 to 5 times. And then if you're self-employed, they'll look at, well, they're going to look at your SA 302s, and they're going to look at your total income received, so salary and dividends. But some lenders will also look at salary and net profit. So obviously self-employed is different to employed, but employed, they're going to look at your gross income.
Okay. I have debt that has just gone past 6 years old. However, I'm confused as to the written off rule. Is the debt written off after 6 years, counting from the date the debt was opened?
Obviously, I'm not a debt advisor, but in relation to your credit file, things stay on your credit file for 6 years. So after 6 years, if something being satisfied or settled or defaulted, then it will drop off your credit file. Obviously, in relation to, is it sort of, what was the question? Is it
He's confused about the written off rule.
written off? Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not sure whether companies can still chase you for bad debt after 6 years. I'm not sure on that, but in relation to your credit file, it would drop off after 6 years.
As a first-time buyer, what should I be looking to do in regards to bank statements and moving money between my accounts? Is that something they'll pull me up for?
No, as long as you can see a paper trail. If it's just things like transferring money to save it so you don't spend it, obviously a lender might ask for your bank statements for your bill account or where your wages get put into. They might ask for 3 months bank statements for where the money's getting transferred to. So anything that they can see to different accounts, they might want to see all the different accounts. But it's not an issue. As long as you can see the paper trail, they'll be fine with it.
Okay. One's just popped through into here. Sorry, I missed the part about gifted deposits. Does a solicitor need to be involved, or can we just have an agreement between both parties?
So from a broker's point of view or a bank's point of view, we would want to see a gifted deposit letter stating that it is a gift and it's not a loan. And we'd want to see 3 months bank statements from the gifter. From the solicitor's point of view, they're going to want to see checks as well, because obviously it's all down to money laundering. They want to make sure they will do their own checks. So yeah, the solicitor will ask for practically the same thing that we do.
Perfect.
There's another one there as well.
Yeah. What would make the use for? What would you do as your salary? Is it 4 times your salary or 5 times your salary of what you could borrow? I think is what they're asking.
Yeah. So generally, I mean, general rule of thumb, like 4 to 4.5 times would be normal. It might depend on things like credit score and dependents, credit commitments, and then obviously once your income generally goes over 50,000, then some lenders will lend more than 4.5 times, so they might push it up to 5 times. So generally, it's when you earn more money, they'll lend you more money.
Can I start the mortgage process if I have an IVA?
No. Well, I say no. The IVA would need to be settled. There is the odd lender that would maybe agree everything on the proviso that the IVA would be settled on completion of the mortgage, but generally the IVA needs to be settled. And obviously on that point, you're going to need a big deposit. Most lenders, when they will look at you after a satisfied IVA, they're going to want sort of a 25 to 30% deposit.
Okay. If my partner is older than I am, will the mortgage term be when the age of when he retires or when I retire?
Again, with most lenders, they're going to go off the oldest person's age. There is the odd lender where they'll go off the younger person, but generally, the term is going to be dictated by the oldest applicant.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Any more questions from anyone on any of our streams? We're on Chris Day's Facebook. We're also on a great page. If nobody is a part of this group, it is definitely the place that you want to be checking out. It is the Mortgage Advice, Hints, Tips and Advice group over on Facebook. Chris is on there a lot answering questions, and it is filled every day with a lot of people asking their own personal circumstances. So it is a great page to find out some information on there if you are looking at starting a mortgage process or going for a remortgage, buy-to-lets, anything like that. There's lots of stuff on there if you want to be joining on there. We are also on Instagram as well. So we are over quite a few platforms. We are also on TikTok. If anybody is on TikTok and doesn't follow us, please feel free to go over to GoMortgage. Over on TikTok, we are posting reels every day. As you may have seen, this face on funny. This face, you're on this side of me on here. This face on videos, making content, trying to make it relatable to you guys, with a bit of humor half of the time. Which is nice, but hopefully we're going to be doing these lives at least once a week, as a good Q&A session, because I know there's a lot of people out there who are needing answers. So, just one just popped up. Can I get a mortgage under my limited company? Can I use income before tax?
If it's for a buy-to-let, yeah, you can buy in a limited company. Can I use income before tax? So if you're self-employed, then it's going to be total income received. If you're employed, it's your gross income. So yes to both.
Nice. That was a nice, easy one, wasn't it?
Mm.
Very nice. What do you think, Chris, is your most asked question in your emails at the moment?
Can I
Rate?
get an can I get an 0% deposit mortgage? Can I get a mortgage with adverse credit? Yeah. Are the rates going to continue to go down? Obviously,
What are your
wish I had a
thoughts on the
crystal
rates?
ball.
What are your thoughts on the rates at the moment?
I think they're going to. Obviously, the Bank of England has kept the base rate the same today for the fourth consecutive time, and I think they're going to still come down a little bit more. I think they continue to come down throughout the rest of this year. To be fair, well,
So
I'm hoping they do, to be fair.
Just going on rates. So I see a lot of comments of people saying, should I hold off? Should I wait until the rates come down? What's the best thing to do realistically in that case? What do you
Obviously,
think?
with our remortgage clients, so our existing clients that we remortgage, we always start looking 6 to 7 months before their product end date. So we can lock in a deal. If the rates change between now and when the current mortgage is due to expire, we can swap it onto a cheaper rate. So we're checking weekly, monthly, because the rates are changing that much. And then we just swap it to a different rate. And same with the purchase. Obviously, if we secure a rate and between now and completion, we can swap it onto a cheaper rate if the lender brings out new rates.
Okay.
So lock them in.
Lock them in now. I want to buy a second property earning over 60,000 and would like to pull out equity for my deposit. How would the banks view this?
Absolutely fine. I mean, obviously, you can buy a you can buy a holiday home. You could buy, if it was a rental property. Obviously, it's not as if you're going to Vegas and spending 60 grand on red or black. You're putting it into another asset, so the bank will be fine with that. Providing, obviously, you've got the equity in the property and it's affordable, shouldn't be an issue.
Okay. I've got 35,000 annual income. How much supposed be monthly tax? Got 35,000 annual income. How much supposed be monthly tax?
Don't know, and I'm not an accountant.
As blunt as he comes, ladies and gentlemen. Next one. How do you move right to buy mortgage from personal to limited? Also, I would need to pay a second stamp duty off if I move to a limited company.
Yeah, so obviously, sometimes you're restricted with right to buy, how quickly you can do things, but if you after a certain amount of years, if you decide you wanted to rent the property out and obviously move to a different property yourself, you would just remortgage the property into the buy-to-let, into the limited company. So the limited company would buy it off you, basically.
Nice.
And yes, if you were buying another property, you'd have higher stamp duty to pay.
I see. I'm just checking through our feeds on our other pages as some things are not quite pushing through, but I'm seeing them on here. So bear with me for one moment. If you don't follow us on social media, guys, please make sure you do. Give us a follow, give us a like. We would really appreciate it. We want to try and really build up on our social media platforms and get making sure that the content is seen by the people who need it. So if you want to share this live, that would be amazing. There's lots that we're looking to achieve this year, and we've got some targets that we'd like to hit. So we'd really appreciate a follow, a like. If you're on Instagram, yeah, same as everywhere, really. Give us a like, give us a follow. We are on YouTube as well, if you hadn't seen our feeds on there. We're all over all the platforms, to be completely honest. We are everywhere. You can't get away from us. So yes, and here is a great question to feed into that. What's the best way to contact Chris and the team?
Via the website, or drop us an email, give us a call. The numbers, there's an email and a number scrolling at the bottom. So admin@gomortgage.co.uk, or visit the website www.gomortgage.co.uk. Or if you're in our group, you can drop us a message on the group. Oh, sorry, Joe.
Right. Yeah, you can drop into our inbox at any point with any questions as well. But does this little ticker banner make you feel like you're on Sky News? Does it make you feel like you've got breaking news coming? I feel like we need to...
Deadline day.
Yeah, deadline. Well, as it is deadline day for GoMortgage, absolutely. Okay, we've got another one. This is the one that we've I think we missed out on before. 35,000 annual income. How much can I get a mortgage with an income like that? Very open-ended.
Yeah, so obviously we're not just looking at income, we're looking at things like credit commitments. Have you got any dependents? How old are you? How long can we do the term over? But let's just say you haven't got any kids and you haven't got any credit commitments, and you're fairly young and we can do a 35 year term. You're probably looking between 150 and 160,000 pound maximum loan, plus your deposit on top. Ish.
I suppose as well, with basic generic questions, it's quite hard to determine an answer here and now without really getting into more detail with them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you've got credit commitments, that figure's going to reduce. If you've got dependents, and it isn't obviously always 100% that it'll reduce, but potentially, obviously, dependents, credit commitments, it's going to reduce what you can borrow.
Okay. I got a mortgage certificate from my broker. What is the chance that I can get the mortgage?
Well, if they've just drawn you a certificate themselves, maybe. Well, if it's a decision of principle from a lender, you should be fine. So, obviously, like I said before, it's not 100% guarantee, but they've done a soft credit search. They've looked at your information. At that stage, they are happy that you're good to go. So providing like you've disclosed everything to your broker and they don't find any issues on things like bank statements or pay slips, then you'll be fine. Then obviously it's down to things like the underwriter signing it off, the property valuing up okay. But yeah, 99 times out of 100, once you've got a dip, you're good to go.
What are the do's and don'ts to see on a bank statement?
What are the do's and don'ts? So the type of things the type of things the underwriters don't like is obviously like large cash sums of money coming in and out, lots and lots of overspending on. I mean, we've had cases declined where there's been excessive spending on takeaways and like just day-to-day spending, like lots and lots of spending in the same day. Gambling, bingo sites, OnlyFans, anything that's like addictive potentially, I think is going to be an issue. They want to make sure they're going to check things like your pay slips. Does your income that's on your pay slips match up to the income that's on your bank statements? Is there any discrepancies? Things like that is what they're going to be looking for. So just keep it nice and clean. Don't overspend, and you'll be fine.
Can you get a mortgage with defaults on your credit file?
Yes. Again, it depends on the size of the deposit. We have got some lenders that will look at a adverse credit that's over a certain amount of time with a 5% deposit, but there's not many options. So generally, when you've got CCJs, defaults, mispayments, lenders are going to want to see a bigger deposit. But yeah, you can get a mortgage, no problem. But I say no problem, providing you meet the criteria.
And is that something the broker would tell you what the criteria would be?
Yeah, well, we'd find the right lender for the client. So based on any issues that are on the credit report, we'll then go away and find the best deal for that client.
So if anyone's never used a mortgage broker before, never gone through the mortgage process,
Yes.
what does your mortgage broker do in the process?
So for our clients, we do everything. So from sort of initial inquiry, we're talking through the process, go through affordability, let them know what they can borrow, how much that mortgage is going to cost them monthly. We then get the decision in principle arranged for them. At that stage, then it's down to them to go and find a property. We will help them put offers forward with the estate agent. If they're not comfortable negotiating the price, we'll do that for them. Once they've got an offer accepted on a property, we will then submit the mortgage application. We'll source the best mortgage for them, get it all submitted, do all the paperwork, get that mortgage offered, and then at that stage, then our team will liaise with the estate agent, they'll liaise with the solicitor, just make things easy for the clients, so we're their port of contact rather than having to contact lots of different people. We'll also have a protection review. We'll make sure all the protection's in place, and obviously they've got the required insurances, and then obviously we'll navigate it all the way through to completion. And then on completion, obviously they get the keys, and then 2 years' time or 5 years' time, we'll be back in touch to review the mortgage, and it starts again.
Yeah, but at least it's nice that once you've worked with the broker, you've built that relationship up with them. By the time it comes to remortgage, then you know that person's still always on the end of the phone to do it all again for you, isn't it?
Yeah, and even between remortgage times, we have clients. I've spoke to clients today that I've done 3 or 4 mortgages for, and they're thinking of buying another house. This halfway through a 5-year fixed rate, but they're looking to move. So we're on hand whenever there's any changes to circumstances, whether it's the insurances, the mortgage. People sometimes need more money. They need to change things. We're just on hand to help.
Good to know. Do lenders look at previous convictions?
Yes.
Simple.
Obviously, things like lenders don't like anything to do with fraud. So if it's to do with fraud, then obviously it's an issue. If it's other convictions, we've got a case going through at the moment where there was a previous conviction and it's fine, it's all offered, no issues. It just depends what that conviction is. So sometimes it's not an issue, sometimes it potentially could be.
Okay. I do part-time delivery job and work with a company as well. Shall I show both of them for the mortgage?
It all depends whether the delivery job is provable income. So if it's a second job and you get paid slips, you pay tax and national insurance, then yeah, it can be used. If it's just cash in hand and you don't pay any tax on it and it's not disclosed anywhere, then obviously you're going to struggle to use it because lenders only want provable income that you've paid tax on. Well, obviously, if it's under the threshold, you're not going to pay tax on it, but they want provable income.
Okay. In my mortgage certificate, if a mortgage certificate says valid for 90 days, what happened if I can't find a property in 90 days?
So for our clients, once 90 days elapses, we'll just contact the client, see if any information has changed, because sometimes someone might have had a pay rise in that time, or they might have paid off a credit card, update any information, and then we'll just rerun the dip again, and then it'll be good for another 90 days.
Oh, perfect. There's one on here. Can child benefit and universal credit be used when checking for affordability?
Yes, not all lenders will use it, but there's plenty of lenders out there that are absolutely fine with it. So we've got lenders that will just literally purely lend on benefit income with no earned income. So yeah, there's lots and lots of lenders that will take benefit income into account. The only one they won't take into account, obviously, is when you've got universal credit and there's a housing element, because obviously that housing element's going to stop once you buy a house.
Perfect. If you're a sole trader, then go to limited. Do mortgage companies take the average earnings over the last 3 years, especially if you take dividends, so salary as limited is lower?
Say that again.
If you're a sole trader,
Yep.
then go limited.
Yeah.
Do mortgage companies take the average earnings over the last 3 years, especially if you take dividends, so salary as limited is lower?
It's just going to depend on the lender as to what they will take. They're all different. So some lenders, if you've just gone limited and you've got a year's worth of limited books, we've got lenders that will just look at latest year. Some lenders will want to look at the last 2 or 3 years. Some lenders don't like it if you go from sole trader to limited. So there's options. We've got over 90 lenders, so we've got lots of options. It just depends on like other bits of criteria.
Okay. Looking for an estimate on how much I could borrow before applying for a mortgage. Single person with 40,000 deposit, earning 30,000 a year, good credit, no debts.
So 40 grand. Let's have a look in the background. You're looking around about 180. So again, it depends if you've got dependents, depends if you've got credit commitments. But if you haven't got either of those, you could be looking at up to maximum loan of about 180 plus your deposit. So potentially purchase price of around 220. But yeah, like we said before, if you've got dependents or credit commitments or things like maintenance, then potentially that could be a little bit lower.
What age is a dependent up to?
Usually 18 or when they finish education.
Got you. Is it possible to take a mortgage under limited company use profit before tax?
You've had that one? No.
Or is it?
So,
It's a different one.
is it? So limited company, if you're buying a buy to let, yeah. If you're buying a residential, no. And then what was the income bit? Profit before tax?
Yeah.
No. It'll be your net income. Your total income received. Or,
Can you please sorry. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, like, obviously, usually with like limited company, it'll be salary and dividends. But again, as I said before, some lenders will go off salary and net profit, so which can be more than salary and dividends sometimes. So you can get more of a lend.
Can you please explain what shared ownership is?
Shared ownership is where you buy a share of the property. So a lot of the time, there'll be a housing association, and they'll usually have like a minimum of 25% that you can buy. Some are actually doing lower now in like places like down south. So you will buy 25 or 50 or 75%, depending on what your affordability is and what you can earn, or what you can borrow. And then you pay rent on the bit that you don't own. And then in time, you can do what's called staircasing, where you can buy a bit more.
Oh, okay. If my income drops when it comes to renewing my fixed mortgage, do you think lenders would look at that negatively?
It's all on affordability. So as long as the mortgage is still affordable, then there's no issue. Obviously, if it becomes not, if your income drops to a point where it's not affordable anymore, then obviously that could potentially be an issue. And in cases like that, obviously it'd be difficult to remortgage away from your current lender. But as long as you've not missed any payments in the last 12 months, you could do what's called a product transfer and just get a new rate with the current mortgage provider.
Currently in an IVA, I'm due to finish the start of 2026. How soon after completion can we secure a mortgage, and also what sort of deposit would we need?
The day after, and typically, I mean, as it stands today, 25-30% deposit. Obviously, in 2 years' time, things could change, but yeah, typically 25-30%.
Okay. Check my file credit score is 761 out of 1,000. Is that a good score?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just yeah.
It's good, yeah.
Good, yeah. What is an IVA?
An involuntary arrangement. So basically, when you're struggling to pay everything and you'll go into an IVA and you pay a percentage of your debt back. Obviously, I'm not a debt management planner or an IVA specialist, but we have got one that we work with, and we can perhaps do one of these sessions with Paul one of the days and get him on, and he can answer lots of questions about IVAs and debt management plans. The same with all the other people we work with. I think we're going to have other sessions with people, aren't we?
Yeah. So there are different sectors within GoMortgage and different partners that Chris works with. So we're hoping to actually do a Q&A for those sectors as well. What are the sectors that are involved in that then?
So we have a company that we work with on the wills. We have a company that we work with on the secured loans and the bridging. So if people are struggling with lots of debts and they're tied into a fixed rate and they can't really do anything at the moment, we could look at a secured loan to consolidate debts, or if someone wants to raise money for like an extension. As I say, wills, the amount of people that we speak to who don't have a will in place is ridiculous. So we work with a great will company. We also work with a wealth manager who looks after investments and pensions. Again, lots of people don't pay into pensions, and they're just solely going to rely on a state pension when the time comes, which just isn't going to be enough. Who else do we work with? I think that's it. Obviously, Paul, who does the IVAs and the debt management plans. So there's probably 4 good sessions there that we could have people on and go in more depth into those different areas.
Into different topics. I think that'd be really good, and I think it'd be really interesting for a lot of people, to be fair.
And Lee, who does our our later life. So for people who are aging and they want to pull money out of the property, or they're stuck on interest only and they don't know what to do, we've got a chap who we work with who does all that sort of stuff.
So there'll be some good topics to have and some good lives to have, and it's worth keeping up on our pages. That's why I would say make sure you follow, because these will be coming up soon. As soon as we can get them arranged with the guys, then definitely that is something we're going to be looking into and getting out there soon. So how long does it to complete the whole mortgage process, please? How long does each step take?
Again, loads of different factors that can make it quicker or slower. Generally, we say sort of 12 to 16 weeks for a purchase. That's obviously going to depend on the chain size and who's involved. Usually, from the mortgage point of view, the mortgage is usually offered within 2 to 4 weeks, quicker in cases. And then obviously it's down to the legal side of the transaction and the solicitors, and then the chain. So obviously the solicitors will do all the searches and obviously do the legal side of the transaction. And then obviously if there is a chain involved, then obviously everyone's got to agree to a date and work towards a completion. So I'd say typically, on average, probably looking around 12 weeks.
So it's not that long, is it? It's not that long when
No.
you found that house and you go, oh, that's the one. That's the one. It's not that long.
No.
Fly by, I'd have thought as well at some points. Perfect. My score is 804 in clear score. Is that okay, or should I sign up to check my file?
I guarantee that if you go and check my file, your score will be lower. The amount of times people send me Experian and they say, oh, I've got 999 on Experian. And then they ring me and say, it's 500 on check my file. Clear score is just looking at Experian. You need to be looking at Equifax and you need to be looking at TransUnion as well. So sign up, go on our pages, you'll get a free month and have a look. The difference will be plain to see. It's so easy to read and see all the data, and yeah, it just gives you a really clear picture of your credit file.
They're also really good. Check my file. We had an issue where there was something on there. There was an old person that was financially linked at one point, but now no longer. And it's just a case of you call them up, you fill in their form online, you call them up, they then sort it all out. They'll look through it all and remove them for you. It's really easy. So yeah, if there is anyone on that credit report that you're no longer associated with financially and haven't been for years, or it was something from your early 20s or whatever, it's really easy and they'll have to come off eventually. So yeah, we're definitely worth having a look at your credit report though.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
We've had 3 or 4 times with twins where we're doing a mortgage for a twin and the other twin has been naughty and has got bad credit, and it all shows up because obviously it's looking at postcode, date of birth and surname.
Oh no.
And obviously the credit file is full of stuff from the other twin, and obviously Check My File are really, really good at sorting it out.
Wow. And that you've had that a few times?
Yeah, literally 3 or 4 times now.
Wow.
Yeah,
Those cheeky sets of twins. What are they up to?
naughty.
Right, there's one on here. Is it possible to just use, oh, this might be one for our topics. Is it possible to just use a bridging loan to buy, refurb, and resell? Would you
Yes.
get the full amount needed or just a percentage?
Generally, it's 75% loan to value, so you'd need to put 25% in.
Oh,
Hmm.
interesting.
Yes.
How likely is it that NatWest will offer a mortgage after HSBC have declined me?
Very, very likely. But it depends what the issue is. But HSBC tend to be a lot more stringent. NatWest are quite a good lender for being a bit more lenient. So yeah, NatWest, depending on what the issue is, you should be okay.
Can you please explain what a lifetime ISA is?
It's a government scheme where for every bit of money that you put in, the government will top it up with 25% up to a limit, and you can do it as long as you want, but you're limited to how much you can put in. But the government basically add an extra 25% to whatever you put in. So it's a great way of saving if you're a first time buyer. Yeah, get a LISA open and saving there because the government's going to give you some free money.
Is that an age dependent thing, Elisa? Is it only until a certain age?
No, I don't think so, no.
Okay. I thought I'd read somewhere, maybe I got it wrong. If I had a house many years ago but don't own one now, am I able to be a first time buyer?
I'm just looking at LISA. You can do it until you're 50.
Oh, okay.
And
So you have to open it before you're 50.
So you must be 18 or over, but under 40 to open a lifetime ISA. So obviously, if you're over 40 and you've already got a LISA, you can put it until you're 50.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought I saw some age stuff in there.
Every day's a school day.
Every day is a school day. Yeah. If you've owned a house many, many moons ago, can you still be classed as a first time buyer?
Depends on the lender. Some lenders, if you've ever owned, you're not a first time buyer. Some, if a couple of years has passed, then they'll class you as a first time buyer. Obviously, from a land registry's point of view, if you've ever owned, you're not a first time buyer. So again,
Okay.
it just depends on the lender.
How long can I take out a mortgage for?
How old are you?
There's a lot of questions to be answered before you could actually answer that question, isn't it? A lot
Yeah.
of.
So typically, they will lend up until retirement age. If you've got income into retirement, then they'll extend the term usually. Lenders will go to 80, 85, oh, 36. Nice. So if you're going to retire at 67, 68, let's say you're going to retire at 67, they'll go off your next birthday. So a 30-year term should be fine. If you're paid into a pension, you can extend that to possibly 35 years. So yeah.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, 36?
I'm sure they'll answer.
Yeah.
What factors will make a bank not give you a mortgage after giving an agreement in principle?
Good question. Finding things that they don't like. So if they don't like things to do with your income, if the property, if it is surveyed and they don't like the property, the underwriter is looking for reasons not to lend you the money. If they can't find a reason not to lend you the money, then obviously it'll go to mortgage offer. So they are just looking for reasons not to give you the money. But yeah, as long as all the income stacks up and the bank statements are okay and there's nothing hidden on the credit file, that you should be fine.
Perfect. There's one here. My children are under 16. They have some money in their savings accounts. Can I use it as deposit?
Well, it's your children's money, so it's probably a bit of a grey area because it depends. Is it your money and it's in your kids' savings account because you're getting higher interest in your kids' savings account? We've had that before and then it's been fine, but I mean, it's your children's money, so I'm sure there are lenders that are fine with it, because obviously a house over your child's head is important. But obviously that money's in the children's account, so it's not your money at the end of the day.
Okay, I've just found one from the Chris Days Facebook page. Can I consolidate my credit card debts when I remortgage in 3 months' time?
You can, but whoever you're speaking to, what broker, hopefully it's going to be us. You just need to be made aware that obviously you're turning short-term debt into long-term debt. So credit cards, I mean, depending on what the interest rate is, potentially would be paid off after a few years, whereas obviously putting on a mortgage, if your mortgage is 25, 30, 35 years, you're then going to be paying interest over a longer period of time. So yeah, as long as it's affordable, you can add it to the mortgage, but you just need to be aware that you're going to be paying interest over a longer period.
Okay. There's one more in here from earlier. When's best to start looking for a remortgage? I'm due in August, but have a secured loan and credit cards that I'm currently paying off.
So 6 months before, which would be 6 months before August 24, February, end of Feb.
So end of this month then.
Yep.
Okay. There's one here. Should I have a home buyer's report done when buying a house, or is a stand valuation okay?
So a standard mortgage valuation is just for the lender for mortgage purposes. So they're not going to, it's not a condition report. They're not going to tell you anything about the property. Obviously, if there's anything really bad, then it will show. So if there's like really bad damp or subsidence, then potentially it's going to show. But a home buyer's report is going to go into a lot more detail. That report is for you. So yeah, if you're a first time buyer or you've not got anyone who is good with properties that can go around and look with you, then for the sake of 400 or 500 quid or whatever it might cost, it's definitely a small price to pay if you're spending hundreds of thousands of pounds on a property. For peace of mind that everything's okay, and it's also a good bargaining tool that if there is issues with the property, you can then go back to the estate agent and renegotiate the price.
Good to know. I'm just checking on here. Let's double check. I think we're caught up on your page there. We've done the home buyers. Has anyone else got any questions before we go? We've been on for nearly 50 minutes.
And United are 2-0 up.
You've kept that quiet.
I know, yeah.
I didn't even see you looking up at that telly. Wow, you've done all right there. Okay. Don't let that put you off, by the way, picking him as a broker that he supports United. If you had additional dependents when it comes to renewing mortgage but didn't declare it, would that be an issue?
Yeah, it's called mortgage fraud.
Do you see it often or not?
We see lots of things, yeah. Obviously, if you're not disclosing certain things, and going back to a previous question, why would a DIP then not go ahead as a mortgage? They're looking for things like that. If they then find out that you've got dependents and you've not declared it, they're not going to like it. If they're giving you a mortgage, they want to know that you can pay it back. If you've got dependents that you're not putting into the calculations, it's a cost. They want to make sure that everything's going to be okay. So yeah, it's really important.
Good to know. Good to know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one last check along here, just because some things are not popping through to us, but that's fine. So on mortgage advice, yeah, the mortgage advice helps. Let me get the word of the mortgage advice helps hints and tips UK. I'm actually going to write that. I think if it lets me, I'm going to learn. I can't post comments to all of them. Hang on.
Do you want me to put the link in the group in the comments?
Oh, that would be nice. Let's see if you can do that. Yeah, it'd be good. It's a great little group to join. If you do have any questions regarding mortgage, remortgage, like we've said, wills, policies, life insurance, there's all sorts going on in that group, and there's lots of questions that get answered daily. Chris is on there as well as others, answering those questions for you. So yeah, there's lots out there that if you want to do follow us, please feel free, give us a like, give us a follow. If you do have any questions that you haven't managed to ask now, pop them in a message to us, like you said, either in an email, or you can inbox us. But yeah, there's lots of ways to contact us, and there's do you guys do life insurance?
We certainly do.
Well, you should ask. Yes, yes, we do. Yeah, like Chris said, we're gonna have some topical videos, topical lives, with some of the guys that are at GoMortgage.
But we do all the protection in house. So life insurance, critical illness, income protection. We do all that in house.
It's very, very, very busy place, isn't it, with what you guys are doing?
It does.
But if anybody has messaged, I've seen a few of these today. If anyone has messaged, Chris and the team will have seen them. They are in the inbox. It's just very busy at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, very.
It's as soon as something happens, like rates going down and stuff, there's just an influx of stuff going on in the inboxes. So they are making their way through them. Please just bear with them. But yeah, it won't be long until you get your replies. But I think we're gonna end it there. And we've had one last one. Go on, this one last one. What are the most important insurance to purchase after getting your new home? This will be the last one.
Well, we would do it before you get your home, not after. But obviously, buildings and contents insurance really, really important. And then obviously, it depends on your circumstances. Like anything, we would tailor it to your circumstances. But life insurance, critical illness cover, income protection, all really, really important and have the job. So we usually do a mixture of everything.
Good. Always best to have all things covered.
Exactly.
Right. I think we're going to end it there, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on our live this evening. Like I said, they're going to come back weekly with Chris. So there will be some more happening as well. Make sure you follow all the social media platforms that we've mentioned, and we shall see you all in the next one.
Bye,
Bye, everybody. Good night. You can smile.